No, I don't know if this. If it's, I don't think this is a question, but it's probably worth noting, probably Tim for you specifically, which is, I know during this board, and maybe I should stop and say, for the record, I am a proponent of the sale. Whether it's Orlando, Kevin, Bill Tobias, or whoever it is, and I really don't follow this stuff all that closely other than those names, and I view it as a large waste of time, energy, resources, all of that kind of stuff for all concerned.
You said proponent.
I'm a proponent of you guys selling the land.
Thank you.
Okay? But back when, just so you're aware, back when the slating process happened with us, the interview, the vetting of candidates, and there were a lot of things by either people associated with the Park District Board, friends of the board, who either wrote letters to local publications, somehow got the word out that somehow this organization of volunteers who don't get paid, who try and work in the community's best interest, which sounds familiar, were somehow biased by that because Orlando Coryell happened to be the chairperson of the organization. Just so you're aware, at the time that happened, a lot of people who aren't in this room anymore, because obviously the ranks go down in an off-election year, were offended by that. Just so you know.
Offended by
the newspaper, by people making assertions, friends of the Park District and Park District Board, making assertions that somehow the Citizens Council was biased in who it vetted and slated based on Orlando Coryell standing at that podium, or Kevin Shields being a member of the Citizens Council. And it's probably important for you to know that some people took offense to that. And patently, as far as I'm concerned, having attended a bunch of those meetings leading up to the slating process, it just wasn't true. It never came up at a meeting. Right. It was never discussed at that podium one time. And once again, I'm not an Orlando apologist. Trust me when I tell you, I'm definitely not an Orlando apologist.
Okay.
But it comes as a, it came as a shock to see the blowback from people who I would view as friendly to the commissioners, to see a concerted effort made by some of those people to paint the Citizens Council in a negative light simply because you weren't slated.
Because I wasn't slated.
Yeah, and that's how it was perceived by a lot of people in this room.
Oh,
so because you weren't slated, all of a sudden it was going to be the reason you weren't slated is because Orlando has this ongoing feud with the Park District Board, and you're on the board, and you're the president of the board. And you just need to know that was not the case. I mean, at least as far as I think, those people who, just like you, volunteer their time, don't get paid, who sat in here to do the right thing, were doing just that.
Thank you.
Just to let you know.
Thank you. And I know that you and I probably have some trust to rebuild with each other. And if I have offended you or anyone in this room, I apologize. Part of my campaign did not organize anybody to detract from the integrity of this organization. As a matter of fact, I received multiple phone calls from lots of influential people in the village that specifically asked me not to. And I'm like, well, what am I doing? They're like, well, we just want to make sure. I'm like, okay, like that's fine. I'm not up against the Citizens Council. I'm going to go campaign my butt off, but I'm not up against the Citizens Council. And so there were people that apparently had written letters to the paper. I remember those. I think Orlando...
And those are names, by the way, that are closely affiliated with the park board.
Sure.
And
the referendum.
So when you see those same names who are associated, who immediately draw an association with the park board, the assumption can be made by a guy in a blue sweater that, well, look at that. Because this happened, now they're going to paint the Citizens Council in as negative a light as possible in order to further their agenda. And that's the way it came off.
I think it's a pretty easy leap for the people that made those accusations.
Oh, sure it is.
With the leader of the Citizens Council leading the litigation.
Oh, I
mean, there was a lot of issues with that. I don't think this is the quorum to get into that, but I can see both sides of the story. It wasn't just the Park District firing the ammo there, I don't think.
I wasn't firing any ammo. I think Orlando acted as a great lightning rod for that controversy just because he was president of the Citizens Council. And once that came out that he was also suing the Park District and was the president of a slating body that was going to pick new candidates. It sort of goes back to what I was talking about, right? It makes me crazy when the public doesn't hear all of the stuff and so simply crafts an assumption and then runs with it. There were crafted assumptions that came up with the referendum that offended me greatly, that were very racist. And there were people who ran up to me and said, how could you have voted for that? You know, I don't want people moving in that I don't like. And I'm looking at them, I'm like, wow, you know, I grew up in Oak Park, I'm not used to this. So I kind of investigated this. It just comes down to base racism. And so the rumors that start, they don't make me very happy at all, because I would rather have people basing their judgments and the way that they execute their values on the veracity of the situation. So, again, my apologies. I never fired any ammo in that direction. And I was specifically counseled by a number of people to not hurt this organization. And I personally never did. At least I don't think I did. Not on purpose.
I'm glad you got it.
Yeah.
And I'm curious who those people were.
No. You know, so Rose, I know, and a lot of people are curious. One of the things about, but one of the things about relationships in political organizations or any politics are that you've got people who will counsel you. The moment that you blow their cover, they never counseled you. They don't know who you were. They've never called you. They're erasing their cell phone records. You know, all kinds of stuff. So. Quite frankly, I think that the counsel that I received was really good, and I was already following it anyway. I don't have any, like I said, I started out my speech here last time, and apparently this was the wrong way to start it, I was told. But I started out thanking people from 2005, because this is the start, the birth of my political campaign. So, anyways, I feel bad about that. And I think that Katie's doing a good job. Katie and I talked about stuff today about building up the Citizens Council from whatever may have happened in that campaign. It'll come back. It'll come back. When Katie's sitting here saying go out and talk to people, I talk to people about it. I just told Katie about a prospective member just today. So I hope that gets to the root of your comment.